You know, it's remarkable how the teachings of Jesus are applicable to everyone, and not limited to times and places, cultures. A case in point is Jesus' response as to whether or not it is lawful for a Jew to pay taxes to Caesar. He said, "Be paid to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God." For those for whom God is a priority in their lives, it goes without saying that if what Caesar requires is at odds with what God ordains, then God's will is to be given precedence. Otherwise, there will come a day when we will profoundly regret our choice. We live in an age when, too often, even among Christians, God doesn't even come into the picture. Caesar comes first. The Caesars of this world are to be recognized as those who make our decisions for us. And they can be observed not only in the political world, but also the social world. There's a problem in America now, for example, where the political Caesars decided that same-sex marriage is now acceptable. And you are a bigot if you do not agree. It doesn't matter what God has to say, for Caesar has spoken. And so we have state after state in America creating laws that favor homosexual partnerships, to the point where in some Christian denominations you now have even gay bishops. And in more countries, Caesar has decided that so-called assisted suicide, murder really, mostly for the sick and elderly, though not limited to them, is in effect to be compassionate. And so about 2,500 were murdered in Canada just this past year. In America alone, more than 50 million babies have been murdered in the womb because it was deemed befitting that women have the right to kill the babies in their womb. Ostensibly because women have the right to take care of their bodies. It's as if pregnancy has suddenly become a disease. Caesar has spoken. So now Caesar tells us not only that it's okay, it's even praiseworthy to have abortions, but we have a responsibility to fund abortion mills. And we cannot deny the right for some people to sell the body parts of the aborted babies. If Caesar says okay, then forget about what God says. And then we have the non-political Caesars, who find their home in the social world. The main message being, keep up with the Joneses. No, more than that. Do whatever you can to surpass the Joneses. We will decide for you how to spend your money, so that we can, through that, become rich. For example, the Caesars of the social world have decided what fashions are in vogue this year. So you can discard what they had decided was best for last year. They will also decide what gimmicks that everybody must have. Where are the must places to go on vacation, and so forth. And this is often taken to ridiculous and even childish extremes. Americans might remember the Cabbage Patch doll 15 or 20 years ago. They came complete with birth certificates. People were fighting in the department stores over who is going to get the last one to be sold that day. And then they paid exorbitant sums of money to buy one for their kids, so their kids would not be left behind. You know, Mommy, everybody else has a Cabbage Patch doll. I have to have one too. In that way, they're teaching the kids that the social world, Caesar, is more important than God. No one will ever get up at 2 a.m. in the morning to be the first to get into church when the doors are opened at 7 o'clock or so. But not a few people did just that. To be the first at the department store in the morning, to make sure that they got the Cabbage Patch doll for their child. Nowadays, of course, it's the must-have latest technological gimmick. The iPhone, that's passé. Now we have to have, that's the iPhone 7. Now we have to have the iPhone 8. And the list goes on. You know, in the book of Kings, we are told that the Lord cannot be found in the strong wind, the earthquake, or fire. In other words, the Lord cannot be found in those areas that stand out most glaringly, but rather in a tiny whispering sound. It was in that small whisper that Elijah found the Lord who was passing by. So I have to ask myself, who or what are the Caesars attempting to run my life in areas where they have no jurisdiction? They do not belong there. And those areas do not belong to them. And do I allow them to override God in my value system? And if so, what am I going to do about it? The Caesars out there make a lot of noise that too often drowns out the voice of God, which may very well be a very small whisper. But when we listen intently and come to recognize that that whisper is the voice of God, then a profound change will take place in our lives, bringing the joy and peace promised by the Caesars of this world, which they never, of course, fulfill, because it's a joy and a peace that only God can provide.